some time to go to the questions now. अभी तो हम बहुत सारे concept build up कर रहे हैं, उसके बाद we will go to the past paper question.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and about radicals, we won't be studying about radicals in O levels. We will be studying about free radical, but उसको नाम नहीं देंगे. But in the very end, organic chemistry में जाके कहीं पे अगर मूड हुआ तो मैं बता दूंगा, लेकिन सिलेबस की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. बहुत आगे जाके चलें, आगे बढ़ें या कोई और क्वेश्चन है?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on. So I was saying that all group 1 element, they form a charge of 2 positive. All group 2 element, they loses 2 electrons to form a charge of 2 positive. All the elements between group 2 and group 3, which are known as transition metal, they can form variable charges. Similarly, let's talk about group 4. Group 4, they do elements of group 4, they do not lose or gain electron. ना उसकी तो हम बात नहीं कर रहे. What about group 5 elements? Group 5 elements have 5 valence electrons. They need 3 more electrons to complete their octet. So they gain 3 electrons. And whenever any atom gains an electron, it gets a negative charge. Group 5 elements, they have to gain 3 electrons. So they will get a charge of 3 negative. Similarly, group 6 element, they gain 2 electrons and they get a charge of 2 negative. Group 7 elements, they gain 1 electron because they already have 7 valence electrons. They just need 1 more electron to complete their octet. And they get a charge of -1. And group 8 element,
Sir, octet is
octet is having 8 electrons in outermost shell. For example, if we talk about any group 5 element, let's say nitrogen. Nitrogen has an atomic number of 7. It means it has total of 7 electrons. If we make the electronic configuration of nitrogen atom, this would be 2,5. The last shell of nitrogen, which is the outermost shell or the valence shell, does not have 8 electrons. Any atom wants to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell to achieve stability, right? So nitrogen already has 5 electrons in its valence shell. In order to achieve stability, nitrogen gains 3 electrons. Octet करना है, 8 electrons complete करने होते हैं. So it will gain 3 electrons and it will have 8 electrons in its outermost shell. So इसको हम octet कहते हैं. जैसे oct होता है ना, 8 octet, octagon, octopus, like this. Similarly, group 8 elements already have 8 electrons in their outermost shell. If we talk about neon, neon has an electronic configuration of 2,8 because it has 10 electrons. Group neon is already stable. So it does not have to lose or gain electrons. So group 8 does not form a charge. Group 8 element does not form a charge. सही है? यहाँ तक बात क्लियर है? और हमने एटॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर में आयंस पढ़ते वक्त एक बात ये भी की थी group 5 में we have nitrogen, and when nitrogen atom forms an ion, its spelling changes. Nitrogen atom becomes a nitride ion. Remember? Similarly, phosphorus atom, when gains an electron, it forms, or it is called phosphide ion with a charge of 3 negative. तो बात याद है ना? Similarly, about group 6 element, oxygen atom, it gains 2 electrons and forms a charge of 2 negative, and then it will be called as oxide ion. And sulfur also gains 2 electrons to form a charge of 2 negative, and this would be called as sulfide ion.
Sir, why we are putting minus sign after 2?
because that's the way we write it. देखो, if you write like -2, or let's say talking about positive ions like magnesium +2. Actually, this is acceptable in exam. आपके marks तो नहीं काटेगा इस पे, but this is not the right way. The right way is you write the number first and then the charge. Similarly, for anions, you write the number first and the charge. But हम जल्दी में जो है ना, हम लोग जो है चार्ज पहले लिख देते, नंबर बाद में लिख देते, मार्क्स नहीं कटेंगे इसके कभी भी. लेकिन जो बुकिश मेथड है ना, it's writing the number first and then the sign, both for cation and anion.
सर वो असल में मैथ्स पढ़ते हैं तो आदत होती है जल्दी करने की, इसलिए ना हम लोग
मैथ्स की वजह से. राइट जी बेटा.
ये स्पेसिफिकली जो आपने नाइट्रेट को नाइट्राइड और ऑक्सीजन को ऑक्साइड का बताया, ये स्पेसिफिकली ग्रुप 5 और 6 का या बाकी ग्रुप्स के लिए भी?
ओनली फॉर एनाइंस फ्रॉम ग्रुप 5 टू ग्रुप 7. मैं लिखवा रहा हूँ, आपने कॉपी करना है. प्रोडक्ट टेबल आप ना एक काम ये करो, टेबल की ना कॉपी बना के अपने पास रख लो, हार्ड कॉपी में ना. देखो कैटाइंस होते हैं ना, जैसे सोडियम आयन है. When sodium ion loses an electron, it forms a positively charged ion, but this is known as sodium ion. उसकी स्पेलिंग ना चेंज नहीं होती है. However, when any atom forms a negatively charged ion or anion, तो उसके जो स्पेलिंग है ना, उसकी नाम की स्पेलिंग चेंज हो जाती है. Just give me a moment, let me show you that. See all the elements from group 1 till group 3, they loses electron to form a positively charged ions or cations, right? जैसे सोडियम एटम जब आयन बनाएगा तो it would be called as sodium ion. No change in the spelling of sodium. Magnesium atom when forms an ion, it is known as magnesium ion. Iron atom when forms an ion, it is known as iron ion. There is no change in the spelling. But whenever an atom forms an anion, and which group element forms an anion? From group 5 till group 7, they form negatively charged ion or anion. Okay, these elements they form anion. तो थोड़ा सा आगे करके दिखाते हैं like this. इसमें नाइट्रोजन एटम when forms an ion, it is known as nitride ion. Phosphorus atom when forms an ion, it is known as phosphide ion. अब ये तो बहुत सारे हैं, क्या हमें सारे याद करने? नहीं, हमें जो याद करने हैं ना, वो मैं लिखवा देता हूँ आपको. पहले भी लिखवाए होंगे. आयंस पढ़ा था ना एटॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर में, चेक करो अपने लेक्चर्स.
Yes, sir.
Yes. When nitrogen atom it forms an ion, it gains, as it is from group 5, it has 5 valence electrons. It needs 3 more electrons. It gains 3 electrons and forms a charge of 3 negative. उसका नाम भी नाइट्रोजन नहीं होता. दिस इज नोन एज नाइट्राइड आयन. We put IDE in the end. Similarly, phosphorus atom also gains 3 electrons, and then this would be called as phosphide ion. You just have to remember about nitride and phosphide. इसके नीचे वाला नहीं करना. Similarly, oxygen is from group 6. It gains 2 electron and gets a charge of 2 negative, and this would be called as oxide ion. Sulfur gains a charge of 2 negative, and this would be called as sulfide ion. इसमें group 6 में भी और कोई नीचे वाले नहीं करने. Fluorine gets a charge of
Sir, group 6 to 10, we have to put DE at the end.
IDE.
Yes, sir.
We are putting IDE in all. Group 5 में भी डाला है, group 6 में भी डाला है ना.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है, but there is no set rule के आखिर के कितने लेटर हटा के IDE लगाना है. इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ याद कर लो ना, कोई बहुत ज्यादा थोड़ी है. 2 from group 5, 2 from group 6 and 4 from group 7. अभी याद हो जाएंगे. Fluorine,
Okay.
when gains 1 electron, it forms fluoride ion. Chlorine, when gains 1 electron, it forms chloride ion. Bromine, when gains electron, it forms bromide ion. Iodine, when gains 1 electron, it forms iodide ion. That's it. Group 6 -2 charge बनाते हैं, group 7 -1 बनाते हैं. पहले भी लिखे थे हमने. These are ions, not radicals. Abdullah, radicals are something else. चले आगे बढ़े.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, हम लोग क्या डिस्कस कर रहे थे एक्चुअली? फॉर्मूला मेकिंग ऑफ आयनिक कंपाउंड्स. See, we have one compound known as sodium chloride. And how do we make the formula of sodium chloride? See, sodium, it has 2 elements, sodium and chlorine. Chloride is from chlorine. So sodium has a symbol of Na, and sodium is from group 1. It means when sodium forms an ion, it gets a charge of +1. राइट, इसको हम +1 लिखना है बिकॉज अभी हमें मैथमेटिकली कुछ सॉल्व करना है. 1 पॉजिटिव इसलिए नहीं लिख रहा अभी. एंड क्लोराइड वी नो इज फ्रॉम क्लोरीन, राइट, which is from group 7 and it forms a charge of -1. So in order to make the formula of sodium chloride, what we have to do is, first step is, see the numbers with the charges of these two ions. सोडियम के साथ +1 है और क्लोरीन के साथ -1 है. हमें क्या करना है? वी हैव टू सिंप्लीफाई दीज नंबर्स. क्या मतलब है इस बात का? दैट वी हैव 1 विद सोडियम एंड 1 विद क्लोरीन. कैन यू फर्दर सिंप्लीफाई 1 and 1? कैन यू डिवाइड 1 and 1 by any other number to make a further smaller numbers? 1 और 1 को डिवाइड करोगे भी तो 1 से ही कर सकते हो ना, क्योंकि 1 के टेबल में दोनों 1 1 आते हैं और तो कोई पॉसिबिलिटी है नहीं हमारे पास, राइट? सही है ना? It means we cannot further divide 1 and 1. So it is already in the simplest form. Then what you have to do is, सोडियम के साथ जो 1 लिखा हुआ है ना, you just drop the charges. The second step is drop the charges or leave the charges and take the number with the sodium 1 and bring it at the bottom of chlorine. जिसको हम कहते हैं सबस्क्रिप्ट में लेके आ जाना. Subscript, smaller number at the bottom. Similarly, the number written with the charge of the chlorine 1, you take it at the bottom of sodium. So with the symbol of sodium, we will write 1 and with the symbol of chlorine we will also write 1. अच्छा, ये फॉर्मूला बन गया. अब इस फॉर्मूले में whenever you have to write a formula, if nothing is written it means it is 1. By default it is 1. तो आपको 1 ना कभी भी लिखने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. So instead of writing 1 you can just write NaCl. It means there is 1 sodium and 1 chlorine. That's how you make the formula of sodium chloride. Just wait and let me give you another example. ऐसे समझ आएगा नहीं. Magnesium chloride. In order to make the formula of magnesium chloride, first you have to see the cation magnesium is from group 2. Is a symbol of Mg and it has a charge of 2 positive. Chloride is from chlorine, which is from group 7, and it has a charge of -1. Your first step is to simplify the values of the charges. Simplify or to take the common ratio between 2 and 1. In order to simplify 2 and 1, 2 और 1 किसके टेबल में एक साथ आ सकते हैं? You cannot further simplify 2 and 1. If you're gonna divide 2 and 1 by 1, so this will stay 2 and 1. Divide करने के बाद कोई values पे फर्क तो नहीं पड़ेगा ना. 2 with the magnesium will stay 2 and 1 with the chlorine will stay 1. The second step is to cross the numbers. And how do you cross the numbers? With magnesium you have 2. You just drop the sign, forget about the sign, the plus sign, and takes 2 from magnesium to chlorine at the bottom of chlorine, and 1 with chlorine to magnesium at the bottom of magnesium. आपको क्या मिलेगा? With magnesium you will write 1 and with chlorine you will write 2. However, we do not write 1. If nothing is written, it means by default it is 1. दोबारा कहो.
So like cross multiplication.
This is not cross multiplication. Cross multiplication would be when we form an equation and put equals to in between. यहाँ तो 1 उठा के ना, 1 इसका उठा के इसके नीचे लिख दिया, ठीक है, और 2 मैग्नीशियम का उठा के क्लोरीन के नीचे लिख दिया. मल्टीप्लिकेशन तो तब होती है ना, तब जब आप 2 into 1 कर रहे होते हैं. We are not doing 2 into 1. This cross is not cross multiplication. I'm just showing you the direction of numbers going. Okay, by using this arrow, I'm just trying to show you the direction of numbers. The 1 is going to the substitute of magnesium and 2 is going to the substitute of chlorine. जी बच्चे.
Sir, why we are not writing the negative value? Like there it's -1.
Actually, when we write the formula, we are just trying to give how many magnesium ions are combined with chloride ions. So the signs does not signify the quantity. We cannot say magnesium +1 ion combines with chlorine -1 ion. It does not signify the quantity. Quantity जब आप देते हो, you do not need to state the charges.
So in every case we have to ignore the charges, right?
Yes, you have to drop the charges.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, let's make the formula for magnesium oxide. You just have to follow the simple rules actually, no? So magnesium, as we know, is from group 2. It has a charge of 2 positive. Oxide is from oxygen, which is from group 6, and it has a charge of 2 negative. So now first step is to bring the values of these charges into the simplest form. Let's simplify it. And how would you simplify it? By dividing with the largest common number. अब largest common number का क्या मतलब है? देखो, charges की जो values है ना, it is this time with magnesium it's 2 and with oxygen it is also 2. तो ऐसा कौन सा नंबर है जिसके टेबल में 2 और 2 दोनों आते हैं? 1 के टेबल में भी आता है और 2 के टेबल में भी आता है. But we have to choose the largest number. Because अगर हम 2 से डिवाइड करेंगे तो these numbers will be simplified further. जैसे आप मैथ्स में सिंपलेस्ट रेशियो लेते हो ना, वैसे ही सिंपलेस्ट रेशियो लेना है. जैसे if I say we have 5 and 10, so how would you take the simplest ratio between 5 and 10? You will divide 5 and 10 by 5 and you will get the simplest ratio 1:2. Can you further simplify 1:2? नहीं, उससे नीचे और नहीं जा सकता. यहाँ पे भी आपको simplest ratio लेना है. How can you further divide 2 and 2? By dividing both the numbers by 2, so you will get 1:1. जब आप दोनों को 2 से डिवाइड करोगे तो you will get Mg +1 and oxide -1. With magnesium, just drop the sign and take the number at the subscript of oxygen. This is not cross multiplication. ये मैं इनकी direction बता रहा हूँ. And with oxygen, the charge है वो drop कर दो and then take the number with magnesium. So with magnesium you will get 1. With oxygen you will get 1. However, you are not supposed to write 1 by writing the formula. So you will just state the formula as MgO. Right?
Sir. लेकिन अगर सर if you put values तो फिर examiner marks तो कट नहीं करेगा ना?
If you write 1, ये कह रहे हो?
Yes sir.
If you want simplify the value, दोबारा पूछो question, समझ नहीं आया, आवाज नहीं आ रही.
सर मैं कह रहा हूँ जैसे आपने Mg1 लिखा और 01 लिखा तो इसको simplify करके you write Mg0 MgO.
It's not 0, it's oxygen, beta, it's O.
Yes sir. Yes sir, I am giving it.
Can you repeat your question? Abhi bhi, I still couldn't hear you properly. Can you repeat your question? One more time, please.
Sir, I am saying that sir आपने Mg1 लिखा है और फिर 01 लिखा है, ऑक्सीजन 1 लिखा है. सर O, yes sir. तो सर आपने फिर उसके बाद लिखा है MgO. तो सर इसमें मार्क्स में भी कटेंगे ना?
If you mention 1 and 1, नहीं मार्क्स तो नहीं कटेंगे, बट नहीं मार्क्स नहीं कटेंगे, बट trust me, after studying chemistry for a while, you will never write Mg1 over. You will always write MgO. ठीक है, आप कभी ऐसा लिखोगे ही नहीं. Just the basics of formula making. And now you'll be using this formula so many times, that you will be so used to of it by the end of the year. You will never write Mg1 over.
Sir?
Okay.
Sir, can we be given like equations related stable elements?
Yes.
If it's possible, can you give one example?
Right now, I can give you one example, but thing is, we haven't studied it yet. Let me tell you that if we have magnesium and oxygen reacting together, it will form magnesium oxide. That's what you're asking? You want me to balance it as well?
No, I'm asking, can the examiner give us like to make equations like from this the elements which are stable, like
Of
in
course.
the last? Okay, thank you.
No, if you're asking about all elements from group 8,
yes, I'm asking from that.
no, they do not react. Let's say if you are saying that if they give you the formula of xenon fluoride, xenon is a noble gas. So for you, xenon does not react. If it does not react, it cannot form an ion. If it cannot form an ion, it cannot form an ionic compound. If xenon does not have any charge, it means it cannot be attracted to fluoride.
Okay, thank you, sir.
They will be using either metals, they will be joining metals and non-metals. And metals may include any element from group 1 till group 3, and non-metals may include any element that can form an ion from group 5 till group 7. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, chalo, we'll continue this topic in next class. Much is left in this for formula making. Abhi bahut kuch padna hai. So right now you may leave. About test, we will update you. I think Sir Hamda couldn't just integrate the app. So let's see क्या है मैं बताता हूँ आपको. You may